and I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Who would honestly win this match? There's no possible way this awesome angry sea snake that can also fly loses to an electric rat. If you apply Poké logic, Gyarados loses in one shot, but if you're going off of appearances alone, I just can't see it. So let's make sure the yellow rat mascot never stands a chance against Gary the Second. And this is a pretty good start, as far as the layout goes. So let's move into the actual details of the battle.
Hot diggity
First, let's start this off with some very basic shapes and rough in those weird horn things. Very easily painting in some blobs with very little detail. Next, we'll use various tools and chip away at the piece. And over time, you'll get something like this. I'm kidding. But let's talk about the process for a moment. Because I started off using a brush, and then jumped straight into another tool. So, in this piece, I'm using a technique called shape carving. This refers to the process of carving or sculpting into specific shapes or a design. In this case, I'm using the lasso tool in Photoshop to create some general shapes, and using the lasso tool again to paint away the portions I don't want. Chipping away enough at these shapes will collectively look like something I can work with. So just by using the lasso tool and painting in the color gives me the effect shown. If I hold down the shift and make another selection, I can create multiple lasso areas for me to paint all at once. So now that I have a general idea, I can come back and paint over any of these shapes I'm no longer interested in. If you're not feeling a section, just paint it out and do it again. Let's see how close I am to my original layout. Not terrible, I guess. And onto the boat. I want a way for Pikachu to interact with Gyarados in a different way. Not just on land, I want something that'll show how massive Gyarados is in this piece. The technique is going to be the same as far as using the lasso tool and creating shapes go. But now that I have everything laid out, I can adjust the size and maybe the positioning, and I almost forgot these little Magikarp whisker things. So let me go ahead and add these in now. And by the way, I'm not worried about the color as of now. I just want to get the basic shapes and ideas down first. And now for the moment nobody's been waiting for except for a 13-year-old little boy, a Pikachu. And in case any of my descriptions previously weren't clear or anything like that, I'll just let this portion play. So that way you can see my process and any of the mistakes I might make. And it didn't dawn on me until later in this portion of Pikachu that I realized that all the proportions didn't have to be 100%, because I'm going to shrink him down and put him on the boat. So any minor imperfections will be pretty hard to see. Now that the overall Pikachu is done, he's blending in with the background too much, so I'm going to throw adjustment layer on, make sure I clip it to him, so he doesn't blend in too much with the background. And now for the moment that I've been waiting for, the painting process, or the paint over, or whatever. And I'm not really going to focus on the lines that I've made in the water, as I'm not really a fan of them at the moment, and I'm likely going to replace them. And the base color for the boat, the Pikachu, and the Gyarados were all just clipping layers, and nothing really too amazing. But because the colors are flat, I want to make sure that there's a nice gradient throughout the piece. The grade that I was working on previously made everything just a bit flat, so creating a gradient will help with the depth and the perspective. And that idea of gradient is going to carry throughout the entire coloring process. And here with this mouthpiece, I am taking a lot of creative liberty here. I have no clue what I'm doing, but it looks cool. And if it's not obvious, I'm putting my creative spin on Gary squared, and making him look a lot more menacing. I had a version of this where I had Gyarados' lips, 2 awkward teeth, and some scales in his stomach, but I want to try my hand at something new. I've left out those mistakes in this video just to save myself a bit of embarrassment. So like I mentioned earlier, I just erased it and went on about my day. And just to be clear here, all I'm doing is using the lasso tool and creating an extra layer of a lighter blue, just to help push the image a bit more. You know, sometimes when you draw or paint or do anything by accident and it becomes not that bad? Yeah, that's the situation with these eyeballs. The happiest of accidents. I came in with little to no strategy on these dragon peepers, and I think they turned out pretty awesome. At first, pretty derpy, and then kind of crazy looking, and then pretty on point. And because I thought the black around the eyes looked pretty menacing, I decided to add it just about everywhere. And just like the rest of this piece, this took a substantial amount of time. Yes, I added in those sharp pointy bits on his back, and I realize his fins aren't transparent. Well, fully transparent. And let's just assume you know how I did the boat and the Pikachu. Same process. And you'll have to follow along with me as I tell you that this is the sky. Maybe even better, this. At the time of this painting, I was all about that bright, vibrant colors clashing with the subject matter of this picture. They somehow seem to fit, but holy cow, what a very bold choice. From the first brushstroke to the final composition, every step builds towards the final piece. But even when the artwork seems complete, there's still one crucial phase left. Add in the final detail. The final details are what bring your work to life. These subtle touches can transform a good piece into a great one, adding depth and realism and polish. And then there are the tiny, almost invisible details, the glint in the eye or the soft bounce off of a surface, or a texture in the background that nobody will notice. But you'll notice. So don't skip this fun part. The details. And because this Gyarados is an absolute unit, I have to give Pikachu something. So good luck to you, Mr. Chew. Oh, and here's another happy accident. Gyarados with flaming red eyes, the stuff of nightmares. And I think that'll just about do it. Let's take a look at the final shot. Thanks for watching.